capture the main event, the poets reading their work. The other thing I wanted to tell you about Tiferet is that at the beginning of the pandemic, I started offering spiritual poetry classes because I thought it was a way to offer something that might be of help to people when they were um, isolated in their homes. And I thought of how poetry had helped me through hard times. And I launched a Wednesday and Thursday afternoon writing class. And all four poets are in the Wednesday group at this point. But we've had poets from Wales and New Zealand and Israel, and Margot here is from Switzerland and India and the Bronx. Raquel here is from the Bronx and LA and West Virginia. Janet, a lot of different places, and Ruth, California. So that has been really a gift to me, as well as I think the poets who come. And we look at we look at different poets, and then they are given a prompt and have 10 minutes, 9 minutes to write a poem. And it's been pretty magical what comes out of the classes. So some of the poems that you hear today will have been written in the class, and some not. So without further words from me, let's begin with our first poet, Donna Spruijt-Metz, author of To Phrase a Prayer for Peace from Wild House Publishing. And I'm going to put it on speaker view so we can focus on Donna. Oh, wrong. Okay, there you go, Donna, when you speak.
Thank you so much, Donna, and everybody for Donna, for you for organizing this, and for Tiferet and for your classes, and everyone here for coming, and to all of my classmates and poetry loves. I am going to read to you from my most recent book, To Phrase a Prayer for Peace, and I'll put my information in the chat at the end of my reading. Sound good? Okay. This book was not at all the book I was writing when October 7th happened. I was writing something entirely different. And I was so floored by the violence and the destruction in the Middle East that the only way I could sort of come downstairs with it was to write about it. So I ended up keeping a cryologue. So I wrote about it every day. And at some point, in order to get myself to stop, I felt that I wasn't being honest anymore, day 155 to be exact. I felt so silenced by the media and by all the lies and the truths and all of it that I thought I need to stop. So I just put together what I thought was the best of them and sent them to a friend, Laura Reese Hogan, a fantastic poet. And she passed it on to Michael, Mark S. I'll think of his name in a minute, who was the editor for this book. And he's amazing, and he is at Wild House Press. So that's how it got published. I had nothing to do with it. It's kind of like a magic story that does not happen in poetry. So I'm going to read from this for most of my time, and then I'm going to read a couple of new poems. So this is really chronological, right? This is sort of an introduction. Hoof, after Psalm 89, lines 26 through 35. Is it that I've had a riches of choices? Have I gazelled sideways from one river stone to the next? Or has this been a series of false starts, the hoof withdrawn at the slightest snow? January's wolf moon calls her pups into the night, marks their necessary kill. We all have to eat. Even in snow, hoof paused over the water, my heart says trust. My tracks say doubt. This next one is the one that I wrote on the first day before I heard the news, but I knew something was wrong. And this is for R. R is in this book a lot. Poor man he's a poet friend of mine. He's also blind. I was sending these to him every day, poor guy. And So he's in this book quite a bit, and I'll let you know. And this is for our darkness myth for day one of the Israel-Hamas war before I heard the news. I'm a night writer, and no matter how hard I try to bend myself into daylight, I long for the dark. What do I know of darkness? My version of darkness is full of candlelight. This one's day 4 of the war, and it has a epigraph. Hashtag we are toast, which is Dana Levin's. Hashtag we are toast. It is 7:57 p.m. PST, October 10th, 2023, and I have lived through this day. I weep from room to room. It is taught that prayers said in community are multicolored, while individual prayers are monochrome. We tinker. We are haphazard technicians. God is what we need and fast. All God's welcome. And that line, God is what we need and fast, is from Adélia Prado, who's a Brazilian poet who I just love. So, stolen. Day 24. I'm sick again, but this time I understand it better, the guts rebellion. This time I return to the bland. And yes, I am feeling extinct in this slaughtering season. My daughter says I don't do well with upheaval, says I'm not great at death and destruction. It's a weakness. So by day 31, I was over it. Remember, I don't know if you remember it, but when October 7th started, it was kind of like the Iran war right now. It was going to be 2 weeks at most. And by day 31, I was incredibly over it, and I was also really over writing these poems. So this is day 31, speak. And now, can I stop with this? Even though breath has become a privilege, in the margins of my innocence, I scribble, let there be peace. No stopping yet, girl, old girl, woman, cowering. Speak. You only have everything to lose. This is day 30. On day 34, I ask you to teach us again. This is after Psalm 116. And in my Psalm work, I have on the page, you see capital Y, capital O, capital U. There's a history to how I address the deity in this way, because we have so many names for whatever you consider holy. And all of them address some small part of that. And I want face to face, the whole banana. So it's become capital Y, capital O, capital U to me, you. So when you hear that accompanied with gesture like this, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. On day 34, I ask you to teach us again. Ancient concepts, nurture, compassion, justice. Teach us again. We are perpetrators of the unforgivable. We forget. Yet even standing in this rubble, you invite us to return to peace. You say, return. You say, tears. You say, stumble. And we do. We stumble. I wanted to read this one because it's kind of just like now, but it was then. By day 64, I would get up in the morning and read the New York Times, all three newspapers from Israel, the Dutch newspaper, because I'm from there, and The Guardian, and Al Jazeera, just trying to find out what was really going on. Because none of it was true, and it's not it's kind of happening again. So day 64, words damage. I try and understand, read across sources, across borders, but every new source I read is grimmer than the one I read before. No, that's wrong. The order of my reading doesn't matter. The spiral of damage is recursive, reads cumulative from any direction. Tonight, I miss my daughter so hard. She went to live across the country in what might be our last safe year. This is the shortest poem in the book and my favorite currently. Day 75. I step away to lick wounds. If a poem is a tattoo, I am inked and scarred by these words. Um, this is the title poem for the book. Torah and Psalms teach about the importance of words. They can sometimes make prayer really terrifying for me because you have to choose your words. Yeah, you know what? Be careful what you wish for. So on day 118, the proper way to phrase a prayer for peace after Psalm 118. Interestingly enough. What if I ask the wrong things? My words are imprecise, and you tend towards the literal. I'm listening to the noise that the hours make, waiting for my heart to soften, waiting for the ribbons that bind me to loosen, and then I might know what to ask and how to ask for it. I'm going to take the minutes that I have left to switch gears and read from my new manuscript in progress, which finally has a title. It's called Portable Ghost, which I think is a great title. Everybody clap. Thank you very much. Yes. It takes so long to make a book title, but and I'm going to read you maybe two, but certainly one poem from that. Portable Ghost, at 1 year, 9 months, and well, almost 10 months ago, my husband died suddenly, like, and these poems are me trying to make sense of that. This one appeared in West Trade Review, and also next week is going to appear on The Slowdown. I'm just saying. So I will read you this one. Young widow at the kitchen window. I find myself outside of my body, watching and narrating. The young widow crosses the living room. But I'm not young, only new. These days, one plate in the sink after breakfast, one coffee mug, once over full, my shopping cart now near empty. Every morning, I would ask you, want an egg? And you would say, sure, or no. But that last morning you said, why not? So there were two plates in the sink when the EMT came and said the words, we can't help him. And the police after that to ascertain that I hadn't murdered you, and the mortuary after them, but they couldn't lift you. They had to call for help. And the rabbi was there, and we chanted the Shema, but you never had a chance to say the Vidui. I think I know this poem is about one plate in the sink, but the rest, what shall I do with the rest? I forgot to say at a time, the Shema is a poem that Jews say at the drop of any hat. It's just, hear me, O God, God is one. It's a real quick prayer, and it gets said for every occasion. The Vidui, however, is a confessional prayer, and it's said on the deathbed. And of course, because my husband died very suddenly, he never had a chance to say the Vidui. So that is what that's about. I have time to read one more poem from this collection. And I think I'm going to read I Am the Air Transparent. Everything that was yours, I breathe in. I ask my friend if that makes me seem insane. To nuzzle your red jacket every morning, read your hiking diary, also read, the one I never would have touched when you were alive. My friend says I'm your heir, and this seems so much more elegant than being your gutted, grieving widow, digging through your things, looking for you or solace. One day, when it's my turn, and the ferryman comes to row me across, he'll ask if I was angry at your sudden death, at the no warning of it. I will say, I always loved you in a boneless chicken kind of way, helpless, weak-kneed, and floppy. I will say that I love you still. You in your mountains, seated on a rock right below the tree line, your hiking hat pushed back on your brow a bit, having found a fine old tree, giving it your full attention, sketching it in the red journal. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Donna. Beautiful, beautiful poems about both personal and political grief. Thank you for sharing your words with us.
My pleasure, and I'll paste stuff in the chat.
That would be great. Our second reader is Susan Jackson, whose book, Geography of the Possible, has just been published by Shanti Arts. And Susan, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And Donna, I think I have to agree with you that your darkness is filled with candlelight. Thank you for that beautiful reading. And thank you, Donna Bearstein, for gathering us together today and for all that Tiferet does to foster this amazing writing community. It's an honor to be here with these other wonderful, beloved poet friends, Claudia and Deborah and Donna. And I want to thank Shanti Arts for my beautiful new book, Geography of the Possible. And I kind of feel like if we were all in a room together, we would be chatting and giving each other hugs. So I want to offer a virtual welcome, and it's just so wonderful that you could all join us today. I'm going to start with the title poem from the book, Geography of the Possible. The cathedral of loss death built, the leaded glass of its dark windows blew down in yesterday's wind, making way for a small prairie. Such is the infallible nature of nature to bring joy when you need it most. I saw the miracle of a hummingbird's wings, those minute motorized mechanisms lifting its body to the nectar tucked inside the body of flowers. I watched the yellow eye on an ebony bird blink as the bird leaned its invisible ear to the ground, listening for movement below the earth. The bird knelt its way to sustenance the way some take a communion wafer in their cupped hands and raise the host to their mouths. There are lessons abundantly offered every day out here when I let this land become an inner land, a whole geography of the possible opening up inside me. And let's see. My book is dedicated to my parents and my sister, my only sister, who I love dearly. And I don't know whether many of you are young enough or old enough to remember when local dairies would deliver milk and butter, and they would put it in a little box to keep it safe from the weather, pick up the empty bottles. Anyway, this is called The House on Deer Run Road, Early Morning. She turns from the squat metal box nestled in the corner between the driveway and garage door. It is winter. As light rises from behind the trees, she realizes snow is already falling. Her arms cradle 2 glass bottles of milk, a block of butter wrapped in gold foil. I watch her hug this bounty to her chest in order to free one hand long enough to brush little wheels of frozen snow from her eyelashes. She doesn't know I'm already up and dressed. She doesn't feel me watching through the window that is time and not time. I can taste the cream I skim off the very top of the milk bottle. I can hear the crinkle of foil unfolding, and my father's aftershave on the air as he pulls the chair out from the breakfast table. "How much snow are we expecting?" he asks her. I wish I knew the answer. I wish I knew the answer. Let's see. I don't know how many of you like to compost. I love to keep it because I mostly love the beautiful dark soil that I can put on my garden. So this is Ode to Compost. The cat scratch sound of the peeler moving back and forth over the carrot's body. A growing mound of orange curl joins the rind and seeds of 2 lemons in the compost pot. Potato skins and the sticky shells of 8 brown eggs cracked into my grandmother's blue mixing bowl with a ring of flowers around its open mouth. Red peppercorn, onion husks, crinkly like ancient parchment, with their history etched in invisible writing. The still, exuberant fragrance of day-old tangerine peel that once cradled crescent moons of fruit. It all looks like chaos, like the wings on my face that masquerade as crow's feet and laugh lines, like the muddle of strife our world is in. But composting takes time, takes trust and patience. I haul the harvest to be to the heat behind the shed. Notice foxscat on the path between the grove of spruce and the tree stump haloed by periwinkle. The bucket feels heavier than it should, my shoulders weighted by the news. The violence of the world's becoming in the offices of hurt. It's a well-worn path, this trek from kitchen to woods, to take up the rake and churn my offerings to the earth. It's a process that takes its own time, I think, as afternoon sun shimmies on the pink and white petals of apple blossom, as if light solidified into something you could hold in your hand. Heading back to the house, I swing the empty bucket and kick a small gray stone into the pile of sticks just for the hell of it. We're coming up next week to the anniversary of when a very dear friend of mine died, and I'm going to read this poem for her. The changing light through the window. My friend's son made her a gift of windows, so from her sickbed upstairs, she could look out over the river behind her house, watch the blue heron swoop to fish along the bank, and across the bridge to her studio, where she used to paint peonies and lilacs, the waterfall, portraits of children with wide open faces. Once in Switzerland, we hiked halfway up a mountain and paused on a bench along the path. The sound of cowbells closer, and soon the hot breath of cows upon us, a whole herd on its way home from milking, and she and I on a hillside in the dominion of friendship, sun and shadow over the green patches of land as far as we could see. Could I have thought that's how death comes, with jangling bells and plodding hooves? This evening, her hand shapes the sheet hem as she sleeps. My body sinks further into the chair, the changing light through the window, the words of Milos, you who I could not save, listen to me. In the ancestral lands of northern Finland, Some say when a Sami dies, they become rain. I look out this evening at the dark clouds gathering in the western sky and imagine being rain, rain that quenches plants and trees, nourishes the living things, invisible until it begins falling. I'm very lucky here. My writing room is on the ground floor of the house, and there's a glass door that looks out to a stone terrace. And on the terrace is a bench where sometimes my husband and I sit in the early evening, looking out over an arm of the creek. And most of the time, most of the day, this bench is empty. Sometimes the emptiness feels like an invitation, and sometimes the emptiness casts a spell. This poem is The Empty Bench, Disappearing Days of Summer. From my desk, I pause to gaze out the glass door to the empty bench as I sift through the quickly disappearing days of summer, when my mother's presence calls me back through space and time to the summer I was 13, reading in the family room next to her kitchen. Ice cubes clink as she lays out the scotch and soda my dad will drink when he comes home from work. The aroma as she grates cheese over the chicken tetrazzini she has spooned into her mother's blue crockery baking dish with the hairline crack under the left handle. I was never allowed to swear, but I lay on the couch reading to her lines from The Catcher in the Rye in the voice of Holden Caulfield, who said "God damn" and maybe even the F word. Miraculously, it was all right. She came to the doorway to listen, a potholder in one hand, the other leaning against the woodland green woodwork that framed her body like an aura. And even though I'd used the forbidden language, Holden's language, she looked at me with something akin to someone arriving from another planet where everything was different, but somehow okay. Or maybe, who she saw stretched out on the woven cushion, toes wriggling with delight, was not her daughter, but her own teenage self unexpectedly given permission to say anything, think anything, because after all, someone had written it in a book and set us free to be ourselves, no matter how unlikely such a possibility might have seemed just moments before, when she lifted an ordinary casserole and slid it onto the center rack of the preheated 375-degree stainless steel wall oven. With everything that's happening in the world today, sometimes I just need a little radiance. Maybe we all do. So this poem is called Radiance, and it's for all of us. To embody the solitude of mountains and not be afraid of the weathering storms. To remain patient even in the vast shuffling of wind where rivers meet at the Great Divide. To know that yearning and remembrance are simply the back and forward beats of one song. Then I could be alone on the empty bench outside, as if in the center of the circle of the world. So I think that's about my time. I'll finish with the last poem in the book, which is about the night my friend died. To breathe in the night. On the day you died, I was in another state, husband in surgery, anxious voices of our children on the phone. Thinking I wanted darkness and quiet, I walked outside to breathe in the night, mesmerized by the silence, when I heard you speak. I'm free your voice said. It's more amazing than you could ever imagine. If people only knew, they would never be afraid again. I took a deep, deep breath. Didn't ask myself, is this possible? Is this even real? I had never in my life been less in need of answering those questions. There was a message here. Whether spoken by the night air, the faraway stars, I took the message in both hands and held on to it in a state of awe. Are there things we cannot know? I know I felt your presence here and there, wherever there might be. I thought of how friendship moves in a circle. Our circle wasn't gone. It's simply way bigger than I thought it could be. That night I dream your house is being sold and wonder where you will live now. I dream a woman is telling me the story of an inextinguishable light that lives inside of everyone. Thank you very, very much. And now I pass the mic to Deborah.
Thank you so much, Susan. Those were such a pleasure to hear. And Deborah, our next reader is Deborah Leipziger, whose latest book is Tell Me from Lily Poetry Review.
Thank you so much. It's such a joy to be here. Thank you, Susan, for the radiance, and Donna for your amazing opportunity to connect with so many emotions. Really grateful to be here. And Donna Bearstein, thank you for convening us. It's such a joy, just what we need right now. And I'm going to be reading from my collection, Tell Me, my latest collection, which came out in March with Lily Poetry Review. And I'm going to start with the last poem in the collection. And some of you may know that this is the year of a super bloom of flowers in California. And so I'm offering these wildflowers to you. This super bloom of poppy and lupine, earth made whole, wind manifest. I offer you these wildflowers and all they contain: seed, petal, calyx, wildness, color and courage, brevity and expansiveness, meadowness, mountainness. From this, you can make the whole world. And it's wonderful to follow Susan and your poems of flowers and gardens and hummingbirds. I think a great segue. And the next poem that I'm sharing is inspired by the Museum of Modern Art, MoMA, and they have something called Writers Club. And it's just a wonderful opportunity, both in person and on Zoom. And we have often more than 200 people writing together. And this poem was inspired by an exhibit at MoMA through Writers Club. And it's an exhibit of work by Leandro Katz, who had shown a kind of alphabet of the moon. So all of the different phases of the moon, imagining that as an alphabet. Dear moon, if I could untether your lunar sentence, your alphabet, what would you say? When I was little, I thought you were God, watching over my breath, my silver sleep. Illuminate the tunnels where the captives are hidden. Do not forget our babies in incubators struggling to breathe. Help us to encode your light, your phases, to create a cuneiform of sky, hieroglyph of light. Guide the warblers, thrushes, and buntings, all night's migrants crossing the inky dark. Teach us the art of transformation, revealing but also protecting. How will I know if you receive my letter in light time woven across the sky? And this Next poem is also inspired by this exhibit at the MoMA. Lunar Stories. The moon beams her light stories. Forest of wonder, each star a tree, each planet an ocean. How the moon grows like a story, gibbous, skein of silver thread. Even moonless, the stories are present in what has been removed. Like words erased from a poem, remain and linger, the unsaid, unspooling. Some of you may know that I'm from Brazil, and my parents came to Brazil during World War II. And so a lot of the poems in here are about migration and also about the environment. This next poem, I imagine what it would be like to talk in the language of a tree. Tell me, what are you most afraid of? Tell me, and I will give you shade. Yes, I know of the many ways to die. Heat, thirst, flood, lightning. Why fear growing old? I have witnessed your life. There are so many ways to live. Remember, you grow rich in many currencies: light, generosity, energy, kindness. Protect me, and I will provide cover, connected as we are by need and nearness. I will cover the frozen ground with my leaves and weave my branches of color over your darkness. Come, rest with me. And some of you know that I am fascinated by language and working on a vocabulary of language that we need to address the social and ecological transformations that we need to make, and a consciousness around that. And so this next poem uses a term from the lexicon, which is the word endling. And an endling is the last of its kind or species. And I feel like when we hear that word, it changes us, just thinking about an endling. And this is God of beginnings, God of endlings. Somewhere in the forest by the Ayampe River, perhaps today, the last two Esmeralda wood stars court and create offspring. God of nests, protect them. Purple body, ruby throat, emerald feathers. I hear your wing beats. In Brazil, you are beija-flor, kissing flowers to suck nectar for hovering. A glittering, a bouquet, a shimmer, a tune, a charm of hummingbirds. God of hummingbirds, watch over them. When the last hummingbird is gone, what will become of the God of hummingbirds? And also want to share a poem that I have in this anthology, The Nature of Our Times, which is a beautiful project about poetry and science and poetry and nature. And you can find it online, many of these poems. How to heal. You taught me that bees make a kind of resin, propolis, a glue to repair their hive. From the buds of poplar and cone-bearing trees, they recreate their home. You taught me how propolis can heal, how the word comes from before and city, as though a hive is a city, as though we can make our world anew, create our own medicine from gathering what we have around us. And I think of my poetry sometimes as love letters, and a lot of love letters to my daughters. And this next poem is for them. It's a cento, which is a kind of poem that draws on lines from another work. And this cento is based on lines from a beautiful novel by Caitlin Greenidge called Liberty. Cento for my daughters. I hope that I have made you brave, you in the world responding to me, the song I made. A daughter is a poem. You in the world responding to me, a daughter is a psalm, kind but not too kind, the song I made. A daughter is a psalm. What freeborn thing can bear to be loved as much as that? Write something for me. What freeborn thing, you in the world? A daughter is a poem. There is bravery in being a mother. You in the world responding to me. Being a mother means being someone's God, if only briefly. Kind, but not too kind. A daughter is a poem. Being a mother means being someone's God, if only briefly. And you cannot understand what I have given you, all I have given you, to prepare you to fight. And you cannot understand what I gave you, you in the world, responding to me. I hope that I have made you brave.
Beautiful.
And I'm going to close out with two newer poems that I wrote in our beautiful Wednesday group. Let Nothing Disturb You, after Teresa of Avila. This day has its sanctity. You too are sacred. Imagine a cocoon for yourself where there is peace. Imagine a country where all have rights. Imagine what wholeness would be like. Imagine a well brimming. Let nothing disturb you. Rather, open yourself into the spaciousness. Imagine for yourself a new beginning. What I am saying is this poem is your permission to be whole and strong and patient, for I have the watch.
Mm.
And the last poem is for the new collection that I'm working on, River Keeper. And the prompt was, my religion is. So this is River Keeper. My religion is the following of rivers, the polishing of rocks, certainty of sky and pollen, irises purple in the wind, hive and honey. I ask the river to take me, voyage me past cities and ancestors. My religion embraces the river of you, the lake of us, meadows of lupine, monarch, and milkweed. Meet me by the river of us. Thank you.
Beautiful, Deborah. Thank you for your love letter poems. They were really lovely to listen to. And our last poet today is Claudia Reder, whose most recent book is Dizzying Words from Main Street Rag. And Claudia, we just lost your video. There you are. And don't forget to unmute too.
Unmute. Yes. Well, like everyone else in this group, it is such a pleasure to be with such fine poets and to read with all of you. And thank you for gracing us with your presence, for all of you who are visiting. It's amazing to know how many people are here. And I thank you for that. And thank you to Donna, who has given so much. For these writing groups have really saved me, I think, with what's going on in the world. I look forward to it every week. I'm reading, as she said, from Dizzying Words, and this is a very personal book, and I hadn't even thought I would write it, but 30, 40 years ago, I was struck suddenly with an illness, and of course, it affected everything from then on, even now. And through chronologies and journals, I just kept on and off, and I finally said, I want to get this out of my body. I got to get it out in words, and so here is the book. And I'll just say my husband is a visual artist, and I happened upon this picture he painted, and I said, oh, that is me grading papers. So I thought this was perfect. So I will start now reading a few from there. I'm beginning actually with just a quote from Virginia Woolf, who wrote on being ill, To hinder the description of illness in literature, there is the poverty of language. We have no words for the shiver and the headache. And I know when I first got vertigo, people asked, well, what does it feel like? So in this poem, I tried to answer that. What does it feel like? Well, if you climb the 4 flights of the Guggenheim, and from the top view of the museum's spiraling floors to the flowing geometry of its rotunda below, then look back up. You can imagine yourself inside a whirl of a spiral, a flower, a ring of petals. Feel yourself real. Color hurts my ears, my thin skin permeable. I seek sun, then water, then a rock to lie down on. For months fatigue, a shadow of self. Friends' advice cruel, not meaning to be. I seek poetry of wilder things, spelunking, parasailing, but not feeling safe. Doctors, meds, missed dinners, my doorknob hollows. My mouth so tight, my husband says it's disappearing down my throat. Don't take your imagination for granted. The brain can fuck up. Water fill in the gap. Aneurysm burst. A stack of bills, a stack of books unread, word chipped china. The sieve of fine mesh my brain spouts, dishwasher, spouts, says the thing that whooshes. Stray cats of words, ever-present exhaustion, says amygdala, hippocampus, cochlea, tiny hairs of forgiveness, that swishing sound, that weighted ball in the back of my head. Could MRI show the absence of metaphor? Factor in changing climate, new words gathering moss, declining birth rates, mutations in birdsong? My daughter was 8 when it started, and we've journaled and talked a lot about it as she's grown up. So she was definitely a huge part of the story. And my husband was the background who kept everything going all the time for us. Before a true diagnosis, before I found a doctor who would look me in the eye, my daughter was always there, after school, legs tucked under, perched on the wooden chair, snacking on string cheese. Mother, she said, you lived in a nightgown. She accompanied me to PT, wondering what her mother was doing in this grown-up playground. I had been a mother of a young child who loved to curl up in closets, pick molecules of dust bunnies, spun laughter deep in her belly. But at 10, when she was trying on jeans in the mall and the world spun, I had to leave. Her anger blasted me. She learned you cannot rebel against vertigo. Her body shuttles from one worry to the next, at one end losing her mother, at the other the thought she'll have to take care of me. Years later, during COVID, I wait for her to call. We combine our joys and sorrows. Our phone stays lit for hours. I hear her breathe. Every so often she says, "Are you there?" And I say, "I am here." So Dr. Grootman has written a lot about the doctor-patient relationship, and he wrote, "We have 18 seconds to talk before the doctor will interrupt us." The other week, though, I was at a physical, and afterwards the nurse asked me, "Do you feel listened to?" I had never heard that question in a medical office, so maybe something is changing. But this is a poem for Dr. N, meaning neurologist. Dear Dr. N, words migrate into sentences where they do not belong. Vertigo and I lie down knuckle to knuckle. At the exhibit of Aborigine art, pinpoints of color light up. I join them. It's an ordinary life, except cars careen through me. My body is translucent as a jellyfish. Well, doctor, you recorded my words, then I left, but I want to go back to edit my file. You hijacked my story. Forget Aristotle, his neat construction of beginning, middle, end. In my chaos negative narrative, the beginning and end collide in the middle. The climax occurs at any moment. Pages are unglued from their spine. But then I did meet a doctor who deserves a poem because he was so wonderful. And I don't want to forget there are some wonderful physicians out there who really are healers. This is called The Appointment. All summer I wait. New neurologist. Across the wide desk, my failed diagnoses. Compassion fatigue lines his eyes. His hand sits in mine. So briefly, I'm unsure it happens. Then he stands, all doctor again. But the harsh office lights have dimmed, as if we had met under a weeping cherry tree, pink petals drifting. As if we had met clandestinely for a bit of shade and sheer sunlight, a bit of sweet water inside clinical walls. Well, I couldn't do much physically in the world, but I had danced a lot and would picture myself dancing in my mind and doing lots of other things. So I wrote this poem called Audition for Dancers with Disabilities. I hold a fantasy audition. Many come, the woman with one arm, the woman with no arms, the woman with no body who dances light as air. We know we cannot complete a grand jeté or step out in front of our doors, yet we beam at this strange world that hopes to erase us. We survive the mockery of passers-by. Our legs trace arcs on the floor. Our dream legs leap over chandeliers. Someone shouts, casting a word our bodies no longer register, the word hurry. Still as chilled batter, we barely set our toes on the sprung floor. We enter from stage right to rise up and spear the wind. I'm going to move on now to another part of the book, and this is, let's see where we are. Humor is so important in life, all the time. I think my husband and I still get along because we make each other laugh. But this is called Growing Up with a Vertigo Mom, and it is about my daughter. And so I'm going to read this one. Why do you like ugly shoes? She inquires. My rubber-soled Mary Janes are ships for my feet, suction cups that keep me upright. If I dangerously tilt, I can bounce back. But my fashionista daughter favors stilettos. I buy her strappy heels. My daughter says I've fallen into a bucket of crazy. Vertigo is like dancing without a floor, I say. I'm longing to be in my body and know its boundaries, but the flag of normalcy moves farther away. My daughter says I am rude and even pushy when I'm just trying to remain upright. I say, I'm glad we moved out of that small town because I don't want strangers to know who I am. My daughter says I write about dead stuff, trees, people. I say it's the headiness of living. Let life sit in the crook of your arm and she'll steal the mint from your iced tea. Meanwhile, my daughter dances her way into her 20s. Her plumage sets her sailing. She disappears, then reappears when I least expect it. Out to lunch at a new hip cafe, I cover the black and white polka-dotted linoleum with napkins. She rolls her eyes and says, how many ways can you embarrass me? And I answer, you can hash it out in therapy. I'm going to read a different kind of poem. This is for Dorothy Robbins, who was a sculptor. She emigrated to Israel and taught in Haifa for many years. She has wonderful sculptures and loved working in wood and metals. And having muscular dystrophy changed her, so she had to find other media to work with. Towards the end of her life, she used beeswax because that's all her fingers could handle. But she is the one who said to me, use your sadnesses. And I've never forgotten that. This poem is called Girl Holding an Owl, which is an actual sculpture I have in my house that she made, and it's traveled with me through many, many moves. Chiseled from a single block of wood, always stands near my front door. After my parents' divorce, this 3-foot-high guardian became my dream image. An owl with eyes like searchlights, whose wingspan fends off nightmares, from the woodpecker tapping to the drawing of a house my grandmother would ask for. When muscular dystrophy made it impossible for her to carve wood or cast bronze, she sculpted with wax. She found her way. Paper is my dreaming. Words are my dreaming. This poem is for you, Dottie. I affirm whatever we are dealt, we still create, transform, and offer to the world our delicate, vulnerable shapes. When we had moved and I was trying to find something to do, I started working with creative writing in assisted living. And I'm actually going to read some notes I took from a couple of sessions because I find that people of any age are interested in expressing whatever they can express in whatever way they are able. So this is called Writing Group Assisted Living, and the women named it Our Forgettery because many of them had memory issues. Write that I was here today where words unwing. 10 a.m. Friday, Our Forgettery, where memories for a moment may return. Lily leans, her ear cocked towards the other side of the table. When my sister died, she stole my childhood. She's the only one I could say to, remember? Leah blows on her paper to make sure the words won't blow off the page, then pushes it towards me. Read it, she says. I read, Spirit Lake, wet ponderosa smells like vanilla butterscotch, lots and lots of mist. She leans back in her chair. I can taste that buttermint. The words taste like buttermint. We read poems by Dean Young, who said, we're trying to build birds, not birdhouses. Liesel responds, we're like birds trapped in cages trying to sing. By painting and writing, you help us sing like a bird. Vanessa assesses, I'm trying to find my voice because I don't speak much during the day. I have no one to speak to. Lupe says, let's say this building is the birdhouse. We are the birds. We're trying to sing the way we used to sing when we were younger and healthier. Metaphor is our intimacy, a received invitation to a word raising like a barn raising, where the collective gathers, ensuring each person's place in the listening universe. I just have a few more to read. This is for E. I'll call her E. When I help people tell, she was a 95-year-old woman with her perfect brain power. And although I'm an urban New Yorker, I was, and she grew up on a farm and was a farmer's wife, somehow we just connected. So I always want to read this poem for her so that she is remembered. The air between us. I ask E, what's your favorite color? Orchid, she says. What color is that? Purple, a light shade of purple. She sits in the armchair, I in the other one, hunched over my laptop. At 95, her mind clear and practical, I type what she says until she pauses. Oh my goodness, so sorry. Oh God. Delete that, she says. We didn't say those things in my day. At first, it feels awkward. A week later, the silence is full of reminiscences. The orange lampshade emits a buttery glow. I am honored to be her story hearer. She will soon leave this world, and her great and great-great-grandchildren will have her stories, those she willingly shared to someone she didn't know, she who had no plumbing, an orchard that finally gave fruit, survived beyond the falling apart car to this bed in assisted living, remembering the doll she lost in the great flood. She who loved to say we didn't have a pot to piss in, and I lived from wagon wheel to jet plane, sat in her armchair, a quiet queen. And the last poem I'm going to read is again for my daughter. It's called How to Raise a Daughter. Be there, then disappear. Open the door, let her close it. Peek through the keyhole, the drafty window, anywhere you can get a partial view. Use a word that will surprise both of you, like serendipity, like bollocks. Be silly, laugh wildly, so she's surprised by your wildness. At your age, Mom, no matter what she tells you about your childhood and what she asks you about your childhood, no matter how often you tell her, when you die, she will have questions and only a night sky to sleep under. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful.
Just beautiful, beautiful. Claudia, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Such an exquisite way with words.
Thank you.
All of you, thank you for coming, and you've had the pleasure of hearing four fine, fine poets. We have time for questions. If you have a question, if you'll use the little hand icon that Zoom provides, and I'll go back to gallery view and can, where did gallery view go? Hold on. So if anyone has any questions, just raise your hand and I will look for you. No? Okay. Well, yes, as Perry is saying here, thanks to the poets. My sincere thanks to the poets. It's just really, really a gift to hear the poems that you've written. And I also think several of the poets talked about making the world a better place and making the world anew. And I think that both writing poetry and sharing your poems is one way to do that. So, and also listening to poetry is a way to make our world anew as well. So, again, thank all of you for coming. It's been a real pleasure on my end hearing these poems. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And buy their books. 4 really excellent books to add to the library. So,
Yes.
and the links are in the chat. So please support them by doing that.
I would also like to just give a thanks to all the literary magazines and small presses that are out there helping poetry survive in this difficult time. So I just want to say that without them, I wouldn't be here with a book. So thank you.
All right. Thank you all for coming. Enjoy the rest of your day. And
Bye.
poets keep writing.